year, I went to Washington Square Park. Who's been to New York? Okay, a few of you. How many of you have been to Washington Square Park? Great. For those that haven't, this is Washington Square Park, and I wanted to show you this because look at the look at this landscape. It's just an incredible park. It's not big, but it's so beautifully designed. You have, just to kind of give you, before I jump into this project, a kind of description of the ecosystem of this park, or the social ecosystem of this park. This central fountain during the winter months is turned off and it's full of skaters. Around this edge you get all these different vendors that are selling art or performing. There's a guy that drags his piano into the park and plays that. There's another guy with a beat machine that just goes on and on for hours. And then you have NYU, you have all these nervous, anxious students that kind of hang around this end. Over in this corner you have these very serious chess players. It's a very kind of intense patriarchal vibe. Over in this corner you have the unhoused and the drug dealers. And then you have these kind of two, I think of them as kind of lungs on either side, where a mixture of things happen, but this side is kind of peaceful and this side is kind of energetic. And I think about it as this kind of young energy over here and this older energy here. But the whole park just always has operated in this incredible flow. And when I first moved to New York, I just noticed how people became vulnerable in that park and they opened up and relaxed. And New York is a place where people often have their guard up. So for a long time, I knew that this was a place that was powerful in its design and powerful in its emotional connection to people. So I decided to do sea meditation there. And so for 10 days, I sat from sunrise to sunset, which in mid-April is around 13 hours a day. I hit this very specific moment in spring, which is when the blossoms are out and people's energy is quite buoyant. And it's this moment right before that cracks into a kind of a deep release of energy that is where always the city erupts into protest. Because there's always something very important to protest. In conceiving this work, and also human meteorite, I was thinking about what do people need. And it's been a very rough winter. And also a winter of a lot of kind of opinions, a lot of overwhelming news, and a feeling of kind of inability to sort of do anything to affect change. And in these kind of moments where things feel overwhelmingly out of control and large, I think about I'm also I've been a long time student of I Ching, and I Ching has one image which is translates roughly to the taming of the small. And so I was thinking about, okay, how do you make an earthwork in New York City? And so I was like, oh, you make a tiny, tiny, tiny earthwork. So I chose a black bean, the turtle bean, actually, the black turtle bean, because I liked the way that the name of that bean connected to this indigenous cosmology of the Americas as being Turtle Island, which I think when you think about the land as being the back of a turtle, you are more careful and respectful of it. And this bean is native to the Americas and now is grown on every continent except for Antarctica. But I conceived of this project actually a year earlier when I was feeling really depressed and disconnected and not even knowing how to reach out for support. And I think a lot of people experience that, this feeling that actually the position they're in emotionally is so heavy and that everyone else is suffering also, and they don't want to be a burden, and they also don't even know how anyone could possibly help them. And I just imagined this work where I just let myself be supported by a seed, and I was like, well, maybe a seed could just be my company, and I could be with that. And then when I started imagining doing this work, I realized that I myself would need support from other people, so I could go to the bathroom, etc. And then I just visualized all these people that I knew that I realized would turn out for me. So over the 10 days, I had 6 different times in which someone would come and sit with me for an hour. And this is my dear friend Courtney Childress, who came on day 1, and we got torrential downpour. We weren't even really remotely equipped or ready for it. And she sat there in silence with me through this rain. And I realised that it's really a gift to ask people to come and support you, and because, you know, she'll never forget it. Each day, so one thing that I learned doing Human Meteorite is that while there was a kind of a primary teacher, or a central teacher to that, which is the digging, there were all these ancillary teachers or connected teachers, like the sky and the grass in the meadow and the worms. So in germinating a seed in my hand, I was aware that it's not really about the seed, and it's really about everything that actually supports life existing on this planet. And so I had these secondary teachers. So the seed was the central teacher, and then each day I would wear a different coloured outfit, which represented another facet of our material universe that enabled the possibility of that seed to be there. And so on this day where I'm wearing brown, the secondary guru or teacher, let's say, is the soil. And for each of these secondary supporting images, I thought about what is it that contemplating soil can teach us? And for me, I thought about soil as actually the embodiment of something that can teach us about confronting and moving through the condition of doubt. And not judging the condition of doubt, actually recognizing the condition of doubt as being part of a pathway that leads us to become available to support. So going through that experience of doubt, that uncertainty of soil, we don't really know what's going to grow, but we trust that process. So you come to soil with an attitude of trust and a kind of belief in this process, even though it's amorphous, you don't really know what's happening. And then in trusting, we actually find that support is just naturally available. And so this day was the image of the blossom, and the way that the blossom actually teaches us how to move through or release a notion of possessive desire, and in doing so come to a place of mutual appreciation. The yellow, I had 3 actually images of the sun, and yeah, so this has a little bit of sound, but not much. And so in addition to this, in this state of meditation, I found myself really just listening to the whole park and taking it all in, no matter what the sounds were, and just in doing so really feeling my whole body dilate to the whole perimeter of the park. And I became very sensitive to the whole park, and in turn the people of the park came to look after me. From the beginning, actually, they welcomed me, the vendors and things, and I wasn't sure if I would have any trouble, but they were very supportive because they know that park so well that they knew that ultimately what I was doing was good for the whole energy of the park overall. And in those times where I would just sit there and listen, that hum of people talking, that just sounded like the sound of love to me. this is a kind of a, it's not super close, but this is the bean, just so that you can meet it. This is a friend of mine sitting with me and supporting with me on this day that was about water. The fellow behind me that is drawing these portraits, on this day I was actually in his position and we negotiated. So I moved in front of him and he was behind me. A few days later, I actually took someone's spot, but we'd kind of become buddies by this point. He's an old wizard tarot reader, and I told him the theme for that day was forgiveness, and which is very cheeky, but he let me have his spot. And then the third time I had a negotiation, there was no negotiation. It was, this is my spot, and I asked him if he would kindly help me find a new location, which he did, and we also became quite good friends. Each person that sat with me, I gave them a book that was the guide. Do I have it here? So I would give everyone that came to sit with me this seed meditation book, and so whatever day they came to sit with me, they could open it up and read the kind of guide about what that day was about, and each of these days sort of ended with an embodied meditation as the final paragraph, and anyone can come and take a peek at this if you want afterwards. And then in the center of the book I would have a packet of seeds. Actually, instead of just the black turtle bean, this is my friend Gabe helpfully sorting seeds for me, I chose 10 different beans or legumes that are from North America, and gave explanations, and I gave each person a seed dish so that they could continue the practice on their own. And actually so many people have sent me pictures of their beans that have germinated much more vigorously than mine, because my bean did not particularly enjoy being ferried to and fro from the park, and I had other beans that were all on the same timeline, but they all went crazy, and my bean was really tenderly growing, which goes to show you that they prefer to be they're not really park dwellers, they're not pets. But yeah, and then I just also found that I connected so deeply to the people in the park, and understood, that explanation I gave to you of where everyone is in the park. There is this equilibrium in that park that I came to understand is very similar to what I've seen in ecosystems, and that it is so available for engaging. And I'm going to show you this really wonderful video of someone that I met there who originally, when he approached, he really felt like he was intruding, that he was not allowed to be there. He's an unhoused person, also a magician, and his name is Danny Shodini, and he just became so involved. I gave him one of the books, and he became so dedicated to it. And in this way, so many people just really needed to feel like they were allowed to be seen. And I sat with so many different people, came and just sat with me, and because I had this seed as a guru or as a teacher, being in the space of the seed, you don't really judge anyone, and you're just sort of tenderly there for them. But I just when I returned to the park, I ran into Danny, and he showed me this extraordinary ability that he has.
Remember, I haven't had a shower in a month and 22 days. I'm a little bit worn out. But I love the art of magic and swordplay. Full contact juggling and juggling. Right? It's just pretty.
Wow.
Then I met.
So yeah, me and Danny are buds now, and and actually through that it gave him the courage to really also feel like he belonged to the park, and he would engage with other people. I'm going to show you another video of an interaction I had in the park, just because I feel like my dad wants me to show it, which is there's a performance artist in New York. Her name is Crackhead Barney. She is a court jester. She will take it. She was recently in the news because she was after Alec Baldwin. But she will really come at you, and I was ready for her. This was day 9. It was also 420 day, which, if you don't know what that is a day where everyone smokes horrific amounts of weed. But she came to me, and I think she thought I was very serious and up myself, but actually I was down to clown. So this is a fun little video of me exercising the weed from Crackhead Barney. And then she says there, she's meditating. And then there's my friend Rose, bless her. She sat like that the whole time, which was, it was very surreal and funny. There's a longer video on Crackhead Barney's YouTube if you are interested. What's the red? Oh, the red was the image of the setting sun, and the image of the setting sun is about releasing a state of pride in order to become available to the condition of grace. And that was a day of really releasing pride, because actually where I'm sitting there that was the day where this other fellow Odysseus was like, this is my spot, get out. And I ended up under a tree where pigeons were shitting all over my setup. But because I was in this condition where I was like, okay, today's about releasing pride, I was kind of okay with it. And then to have Crackhead Barney, who is all about humiliating you, it all just was kind of weirdly, divinely perfect. And then the following day, I was in white, and I came to the park, and it was trashed. And I should tell you, this is after 3/4 of the garbage of that had accumulated during 420 had been cleaned up. We didn't quite they're so fast, these guys that the whole sanitation team of the park that clean it up. But when we arrived, there was just mountains, and it was awe-inspiring. And actually, there was a guy that came through and asked one of the cleaners, what happened here? And he refused to answer him. And he was like, no, really, what happened? And then Campbell was there filming this, and he was like, it was 420 day. And he was like, what? Just so shocked. But yeah, this was this kind of thing of doing meditation in a place that is so alive, so tolerant. And I really came to understand Washington Square Park as the perfect kind of temple, because it really allowed for every person in every state, and it is constantly being taken care of. And those that occupy that park just constantly take care of it and make it available to really fun little moments like this. And so, this space for humour and just welcoming of all kinds of states within a spiritual practice is really profound to me. So this is my little bean. This is how far it got, and this is one of its siblings. But I would sometimes come home and they would be so big that I would be like, I've just eaten them. I feel like you're getting ahead of yourself. Anyway, that is those two works. This is the first time I've talked about seed meditation, so thank you. It's really wonderful to share that with you. And then that's if you're trying to find me in any way. That's the detail. Thank you so much.